Advisor. Hello, beer fans. Thank God it's Friday, and this happens to be a good Friday. As Jesse Merrill is inspecting the clarity of his beer, Budweiser, the king of beers. Looks very refreshing.
It's very yellow.
It is.
This is probably. I've been pouring some of these because we got this tournament coming up. So I went out and I purchased a majority of what might be in this tournament. I haven't found a couple in the store I was in, so I figure I can find them in another store this weekend. But yeah, this is my third beer out of the three of it that are within the tournament, and this is definitely the lightest colored one.
They tend to be a little lighter than the Molson Coors products.
Yeah.
Those adjunct lagers. The Budweisers are very, very light. And sometimes if you hold them up into the light, they almost have a slight greenish tint to them. If the lighting hits it just right, almost a slight greenish tint to it.
Yeah, actually, you're right. I do have green coming through right here. Holding it right here.
Decided to do this afternoon. Hope many of you out there were able to see the yesterday's hangout. Perhaps get your act together. And we mentioned at the end of that about the prospects of doing an American Adjunct Lager beer tournament, a Final Four, 2 rounds of semifinals, then a championship round. And we spoke off after the event. We spoke amongst ourselves about some of the details and the particulars. So I thought I would just like to get the word out that looks like it's going to happen. It really does. This has been something that's been a brainchild for me for quite some time. And I think it's going to happen now.
Oh, no, it better happen because otherwise it just blew my money on a bunch of macro beers I don't really want to drink.
But I'm joined this afternoon by Jesse Merrill, Bumpy Road Brewery from the great state of New Hampshire. And also we have Tyler Mansell from the state of Washington, formerly from Wisconsin.
That's right.
Moved to the Pacific Northwest. And I'm glad to have him on here today. I've had some nice interaction with Tyler in the past. And so we'll set this up right now. We've got 2 rounds of semifinals. In one bracket, it will be Budweiser, the king of beers, versus Coors Banquet.
Oh, let me go get my Coors Banquet.
Okay. It's always good to have a beer for the prop.
So it's going to be Budweiser versus Coors Banquet.
That's one semifinal. The other semifinal will pit Pabst Blue Ribbon versus Miller High Life.
Oh,
I didn't grab that one today. So I don't know.
My prediction: Pabst Blue Ribbon wins.
We have an early prognosticator here. it's like the basketball, and now they're going to tell us who's going to win before it all happens.
But yeah, the other one's a little, with Coors and Budweiser, that's a little closer of a battle because it's different. You know what I mean? You have 2 completely different beers, one with corn, one with rice.
Yeah,
it's a little different, but I'll be interested to see that.
And this is the what is it? The proudly persisting through the prohibition and remaining firmly rooted in Golden, Colorado. So this is the Colorado's original export during the 1930s. That's where Coors distributed their beers to. It was all mostly in the lower middle country to the kind of lower to somewhat mid west.
For much of the 20th century, it was not distributed east of the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
So it took on a mythic proportion almost. I remember when I was young, if somebody had scored some Coors Banquet, it was like they had hit the jackpot, won the lottery. It was amazing the mythical status of that beer at that time. for a product. It seems like human nature is such, we like things that we have trouble finding or getting. When you finally do get it, it's like you've scored something, you've accomplished something. But the two winners of those semifinals will advance to a final championship round to follow. And I was thinking that during the hangouts, depending on the number of panelists, we may divide it into a first and a second half. If some people have to come up from the basement, they will be the second half. Like the splitting of a sporting event into the first and second halves, because with each person having 2 beers, we need to allow enough time that they're able to do an adequate taste testing. And we don't want to get out of control. So it might be, I was thinking maybe divided up into a half, first and second half. Have the first panelist to do theirs, and they'll drop off. Then the basement will come up and do the second half, depending on the number of panelists that want to get involved in this. And I think that the neat thing about this is that in case of a tie, just a supposition scenario here, if there were 7 panelists, it wound up Budweiser 4, Coors 3. Then
how dare you say that?
being an odd number, then each person that comments during the broadcast would state their preference of the 2 beers. They can have any other comment they want to, but make sure that you mention, I like Budweiser better, I like Coors better. Then at the end of when we've all reviewed the beers, in real time, we'll tally up the scores. And suppose that they pick Coors, that would make it a 4-4 tie. In baseball,
no. So you're not gonna be requiring anybody in the chat or that's just viewing to actually be drinking the beers at the same.
Everybody's
so it's just based off of their own
they know which one
memory
they
and personal preference. Okay.
But if Coors would win that, it would be a 4-4 tie.
Yeah.
In baseball, the tie goes to the runner.
Well, I can already tell you, just based off, because I've been drinking these today, and just based off drinking these today, my perception of the beers has totally changed from how I think of them, because a lot of it is marketing and stuff. And you got like a king of beer, and it's like, hey, that's got to be the best beer ever, But when you really start drinking them and noticing different flavor, they all have different flavor.
For sure.
So, and you don't really think of that when you think of the adjunct lagers. It's like, yeah, they're all just piss water, But it's like when you really start thinking about the flavors that you're getting out of them, they actually are different. So,
and supposing there was an even number of panelists, say 8. If it was 4-4, then the live commenters would cast a deciding vote. Whichever one that tally up the most, they would advance to the champ. So there.
What if it's tied? What if it's tied through the comments?
We'll address that if we have to.
That's when we're bringing the Imperial Stout to crush it all.
Tyler, I will work on that. Something we have another guest arrived. Thomas
maybe if it ties, maybe that's when we just hand out the everybody gets.
We need it. We need a champion though. So.
Well, I worked. That's a minor. If we can get it on the air, I'll figure that out. That won't be a problem.
Yeah, chances are.
I really don't. I don't foresee there being an actual tie on this one.
That would be a fluke. It would be a real fluke if that would happen. It'd be funny if it did, but anyway.
Like to my own palate, there's noticeable differences between each and every one I've had. So I already kind of have like a liking to a certain brand.
But no real allegiance.
What are you drinking?
No allegiance, because I don't normally drink these, so it was just kind of like drinking them. It's like, wow, there actually is a taste difference.
What are you drinking right now, Eric?
I have a beer from the last beer I got from this DC Brewing Company. It's called the Corruption India Pale Ale. This is at This is at 6.5%. And they say in 1824, Speaker of the House Henry Clay forged a coalition that secured the White House for John Quincy Adams. In return, Adams named Clay as the Secretary of State in what became known as the corrupt bargain. There's your fact for the day.
What a surprise! Political corruption. Who
Yeah,
Oh,
would-
yeah,
who
right.
would ever
Right.
think
Brewed
that?
by Donald Trump.
This is brewed by not Donald Trump. No.
Tyler, are you drinking a beer?
No, not right now. I had Heineken earlier. I'm drinking Diet Mountain Dew right now.
See, Heineken could be a thing. You could do one of these bracket tournaments with some of the Euro pill.
I already posted that.
Yeah.
I did. I said hint, hint. So that might be some.
Carlsberg shall win.
I like the fact that there's an element of drama, suspense to this. It's fine on like Wednesdays, wild card Wednesday, come and everybody drinks a beer, and that's but I think this will amp up the interest a little bit because there is some drama, suspense involved. It's an actual competition, and now with the sporting events shut down with the pandemic, the COVID-19, I thought this would be a very apt time to try to pull this off. And the fact that the people who comment the live stream while the live stream is going on, that would actually maybe have an impact on the outcome of it would only amp up the interest. So I've got high hopes. I think this is going to work out pretty well.
I think so. It's going to be interesting to watch and read people's comments in case we need them around. They got to stick around.
Right.
And I'll give a little update about my Pabst situation. Now, I've yet to hear from Pabst via email about the availability of Schlitz.
Oh,
I'm trying to be fair to them. I
Sure.
said I'll give them a little time, but right now, it's even sullying their reputation even more, and that's pretty hard to do considering what when you go to a website like Facebook, Twitter, and the last activity was on February 17th of 2017, over 3 years ago. That's not exactly something that puts a lot of confidence about the company.
yeah.
And so
I'm trying to find because YouTube is not doing you any justice right now, Willie. It's not throwing you up as a live stream. So I'm trying to find your channel throughout my entire list of people. There you are. I want to throw out your channel into the hangouts that we have for the
Make sure you hit
stream.
the bell, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notification.
the
What's the ABV?
All right, let me see. Share.
One thing I will say for Pabst, I will give them a little. They do have a beer finder for the actual Pabst Blue Ribbon brand, which does operate. And it's nice the fact you can choose which of the Pabst products you want. If you just want to look for like the hard coffee, you can select only it, and it will. Although it's not available anywhere in this area, I doubt we'll ever see it. And the Pabst Extra is not very prevalent either.
No, it disappeared.
That's the MO for Pabst. They'll put something out there, they'll let it rot on the shelves, they'll never put fresh product out, and then they'll finally pull it.
I actually never had. I can't believe it, but I never had the Extra.
That's their MO. They put it out, neglect it, and then they'll say, "Well, it didn't sell." Well, nobody wants to buy beer
one time I saw it
on it.
Yeah.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's ridiculous. I don't want to, get too.
I watched your last video about Pabst, and
rant.
I was thinking the whole time old tankard ale.
I mentioned that.
We did mention that yesterday. Yeah.
I mean, it's that was just like gone. That was here one day, gone the next. That was. But that didn't leave as fast as the most recent one.
I know the first time I ever poured that old tankard ale, the thick beige head. I mean, it just screamed quality.
It still stayed a lot longer than the extra. I saw that on the shelf for a lot longer than the extra. The extra was like gone the first month they released it. It seemed like I couldn't find it.
I've ever seen it.
But that's their typical MO. That's the way they operate. I'm not surprised. And I'm hopeful when the City Brewing takes over that they'll step their game up. One thing I will say is that the old Tankard Ale was actually brewed by City Brewing. So they are capable of doing some quality work. It's just that they don't often reflect that with some of the products that they're required to contract brew. They did the Rockdale products for Walmart. They've done a lot of stuff that it's just bottom of the barrel stuff in relative terms. But I'm hoping that they will, because that's a huge responsibility to take on, that they will be brewing all of the Pabst products.
It seems like
the odd brands.
I didn't really add much to that discussion, but it seems like Pabst makes so much money that they just don't even care when it comes down.
Might be the case.
That's what I was kind of thinking the whole time. Like when I was watching your video, it's like they're making a profit, and so they cut it off at a certain point, and it's like they don't even care.
It kind of reminds you of the owners in the NFL. They all make I think every owner in the NFL wants to win, but some want to win more than others, because with those huge TV contracts they get, they make money regardless if the team goes 16-0 or 1-15.
Yeah.
One of the prime examples, the Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals. They're run as a company, as a sports franchise, they're run about like Pabst is on the beer side.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty much analogous.
That in the where are they at now? The LA Chargers too. It's like they obviously care enough to keep Philip Rivers around forever, kind of like Pabst. They care enough about putting that product on the field, but do they really care about what the people think about it and its longevity in the market? Who knows, right?
Cheers to the chat that's popping in here.
Yeah.
I do want to say the stimulus check, it's hitting different people differently, but I do have a pending stimulus in my bank account right now. So we'll see when that actually goes through. But
we have Beer Man. I've done a couple of Jesse's Monday Night Malty Monday, and I enjoyed meeting him. And
you enjoyed meeting Bear Man?
Yeah, and what's it? Hefeweizen Monday night, right?
Yeah, this Monday is going to be Hefeweizen. It's the German Hefeweizen, but does not have to stem from Germany. It can be brewed anywhere, because you know how the whole craft beer things. It's everybody's trying to brew everybody else's style at this point. So, I just didn't want people to think like, oh, this doesn't say it's right from Germany, so it might not be a Hefeweizen. If it says Hefeweizen on the damn label, it's a Hefeweizen. So that was my point on it. Can be Belgium, it can be United States. It doesn't matter where it's from, as long as it is a Hefeweizen.
As long as that's on the label,
right? And some of them from Germany can be tricky, because the one I have actually says Weissbier.
Yep.
And in very small scripture it says Hefe. It's like they don't present it. So you think it's just a wheat beer, but it's actually a Hefeweizen. So it's like, it's just a lot of people have had a lot of issues finding the right style when it comes to the Malty Monday thing. It's like, even the easy ones, I'm just kind of like hesitant. Like, it's like, I gotta help people out,
including the marketing of the beer. It's hard to tell what's supposed to be what sometimes when you look at it, just a can or a bottle at the store. Which it shouldn't be that way. Just be completely transparent and it'll be easier. But no, can't do that. It's even hard to get ABV and a date sometimes on your bottles and cans too.
Yeah. Or even worse, the IBU.
That's far in between there, Tyler. Yep. Yeah, this one doesn't even have IBU in it.
If you had a total wine, you could make any one of, because I've been able to get all of the brews that Bumpy has been having on the channel. But if you have a total wine, they have everything you could ever imagine. So But I know everybody doesn't have Total Wine.
Yeah, down in Texas, you're not going to get stuff I'm getting. Trust me. Because the only thing that makes it out of Texas up here is Shiner.
What else? Sometimes we get. Oh, we're talking about Paps. I know I can get Lone Star, but that's. Is that even more common than Shiner? Probably not, I guess.
No, we don't get Lone Star here in New Hampshire, but
How would it get there? In a big semi truck?
And some truck owned by Pabst.
But
I just heard the terrible news. The XFL laid off nearly all of its staff, and they're not going to be around in 2021. What did they do? They laid off nearly all of its staff. Multiple sources told a couple of people at ESPN, and the league has no plans to return in 2021, which does kind of suck only because of the brand that I work at. We were doing really, 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 really good business up until this coronavirus happened with those guys, and they were wearing all of our stuff on the sideline. So that kind of blows just a little bit.
That was the only positive thing I saw about the XFL was that they were they had some really cool colors and
they really did
and logos for their teams. But other than that, I mean, they started off with a rough start. Like they had camera problems or something their first season.
The first
there was something that messed up where they weren't
game or back in 2001 when it was first a thing.
I don't know. I just heard that they've had a lot of issues starting up, and then I just saw the first games ever because I never watched football anyways, but I started seeing the XFL stuff this year, and then all of a sudden the coronavirus outbreak happened.
Really fucked them over. They're only 5 games. They're only 5 weeks into their season when shit happened.
I saw 3 games. I'm at lunch, eating at work.
A cool team over there.
I'm watching these neon colors and in black. It's like a neon yellow and black, and I'm like, those are good vibrant colors. And they had a cobra and stuff, and I'm like, okay.
They were also giving unprecedented access to the media during the games.
That's what was really cool about it.
So if a guy threw an interception, they'd have a mic in his face, and within 10 seconds,
they have microphones in all of the helmets that you can hear. You can hear the coach picking the play, and they would go. The sideline reporters would do live interviews with players on the sideline during the game.
And the weirdest thing that hit me was I'm like, they get a touchdown, and then they're gonna go for a 3-point play, and I'm like, what? A 3-point play is a field goal. When you don't get a touchdown, I'm like, what are they doing? And then somebody's like, oh, they kind of changed up the rules a little bit to make it different. I'm like, oh.
I think the XFL, they created the sky camera with the camera on the wire. Yeah, that's what they're known for. But we had a team here in Seattle. They played at the CenturyLink Field. You can get a ticket for $25, and it's pretty sad. I mean, I don't think they should go away. If restaurants are going to open soon, I think that XFL should open.
Vince McMahon, he seemed committed to this. He's got pretty deep pockets, so I guess we'll just have to see in the future. These.
And there's a lot of NFL players, and there's legitimate football players playing in the XFL. I mean, it's not just pro amateur stuff. They're legitimate players.
Yes.
And some of them were getting attention from NFL scouts.
Yep.
That were doing well.
Yeah, and they've already bet some NFL players are in the XFL too.
Yeah. Well, before the whole XFL thing, I mean, there was because I only know because I was approached at one point. I played football for 2 years and that was it. But I was approaching the gym when I used to work out, and somebody handed me the business card, and they worked for the Hurricanes, and it was some amateur football team. So they had that stuff going too, the amateur stuff. It's almost like AA baseball or something, But they're like, oh no, you get a paycheck and everything, and you just come and try out, and
Well, I guess, but seen I haven't seen this, but if they're not returning for 2021, that pretty much to me seals the deal.
Yeah.
You could take a year off and then try to return. I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
just another football league to go in the graveyard. I remember back when they had the World Football League. There was a team in Charlotte.
I remember hearing about that.
I went to the game at the old Charlotte Memorial Stadium, drinking past blue ribbon out in the bleachers. It was like a glorified high school stadium almost.
I hope a lot of those XFL players do get a chance now to go on to the NFL and get a chance to try out for those teams or get drafted. And well, they're not going to get drafted. Maybe they can do the combine and get in that way.
But that's terrible timing to open a new league and then have this pandemic. I mean,
Yeah, it'll come back. I mean, that had been a big production. Because
ESPN is fairly confident that they're not that at least they feel that the XFL is not going to try to recoup from this in 2021.
Really?
Yeah, they feel pretty strongly about that.
I mean, think about the production though, just to create and start the XFL. That's huge, and we don't even have an NBA team here in Seattle.
It was like $300 million or something like that they used spent to recreate the XFL. I believe is what it was. And Vince McMahon, I forget what it was, a year and a half, maybe even upwards of 2 years ago, took out $100 million of stock. I forget what the exact stock name is. The company name is for Vince McMahon Entertainment, or something like that. He took out $100 million worth of stocks. And people were wondering at that time, what is he doing with that? And it was pretty much speculated that he was trying to do the XFL. So he spent a lot of money to redo this for this coronavirus to go and screw up his ordeal there.
Well, I wonder if they could go deeper with it, and instead of the X, they can go to the W, call it the WFL, make it World Football League. But we just have to convince everybody else that you don't only use your feet in this.
And you got to realize all the employees they've laid off or fired, they're all employees on contracts. I mean, if you're working in the XFL, you're in a contract position.
Right. So, but contracts can be scrubbed if it doesn't meet the requirement. There's a bunch of people that might not get paid.
The government, though, the government fucked us all over.
The quarterbacks were able to make six figures. Everybody else in the XFL was making at most, I think it was $55,000. So, I mean, they were treating that like pretty much a day job. And as the commissioner was saying, it's basically every game. It's like you're playing to pay your mortgage. And there was some certain amount of money in which when the team wins, the players do get a bonus per game for winning that game.
Mm.
So that sucks that money is gone for those guys. But hopefully,
thought they would have went down like this? It's like how could you?
I never would have thought that.
I do want to bring this back on topic though for Willie Kepley, because this was for his tournament coming up in his future tournaments. So. Just to get it off the XFL and maybe back to the beer.
I hope the tournament goes better than the XFL.
Right. The XFL has nothing to do with beer.
It's
not much, right?
We just made it though. We made it about beer. Right there.
Yes, sir.
But it won't be the first time. It's something's veered off course. There's a lot of and it's fun to talk. This is a time where there's a lot of uncertainty. People are connecting through social media, and I think for them it's been maybe a more positive tone to it. Maybe the fact that there's a dearth of entertainment opportunities out there. People when people revere sports in this country, when it was just like pulled out from under the rug, out from under your feet, it affects people. Not to mention the more serious aspects, people losing their jobs and the scare of maybe contracting the virus.
Well, life has changed, Life has changed completely for everybody.
And this will be something that they'll be telling their grandkids. You remember back in 20 when people were out in public wearing masks, when there was even mention of not being able to go to the grocery store or a restaurant, and
you never closed down a grocery store.
It's
yeah, CFL is still up in Canada. I really don't know. My company, I think we do some business with them, but it's not like anything primary for us. So I don't know how big of a thing that is even in Canada. I got to imagine it's not that huge of a thing to CFL, but I don't know. Canadian Football League. Anyways, yeah, beer tournament should be pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
And
So the first one you have coming up is going to be the full bore regular American Adjunct
Right.
Lagers, and then we're going to go from there. You're thinking, I mean, we can obviously go to the light side,
right.
join the Republic or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's amazing that the sales figures that out of the top 10 selling beers in the country, 6 of them are light beers. 6 out of 10. It's a top heavy. It's amazing. And I would even add 7 out of 10. I put Busch in as a light beer. The regular,
even though they have their own light beer, it's pretty light to begin with.
They have a Busch non-alcoholic too.
Yeah.
That's pretty light too.
Could we do a non-alcoholic at some point?
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
That would
Or
be.
duels?
I believe. Old Milwaukee is like one of the bigger ones I see around for non-alcoholics. Old Milwaukee NA.
I've had the Old Milwaukee NA recently. I drank it a couple of the hangouts, but yeah, the top heaviness of the light beer dominating the category is something that's it's amazing. That Bud Light outsells any other beer in the country 2-1. It's just amazing.
Damn.
The
Actually, it's not really that hard to believe. Yeah.
It is, and their market share has actually fallen off quite a bit over the years for Bud Light, but Michelob Ultra has picked up some of the slack. Michelob Ultra is gaining on the regular Budweiser. It's in 5th place. Budweiser, the former king of beers, is now in 4th place in sales, but the Michelob Ultra is catching up. Also, Corona and Modelo are moving up. The Mexican beers are popular, so the king of beers has seen its better days. I mean, it's hard to argue it's still the 4th best-selling beer in the country, but considering where it used to be, in those relative terms, it's a shadow of what it used to be. The king of beers, it's not the king anymore, and then the craft beer has cut into some of it too, some of the market shares.
What?
And,
craft beer? What?
I think the whole king of beers thing. I mean, a lot of that I think comes down to money. Because those that have money seem to always do right, and they seem to have a foothold in a lot of, let's say, I don't know, like shelf space. They seem to be able to say, "Hey, we're going to pay you X amount of dollars to have this amount of shelf space," and it leaves everybody else with this amount. So everybody else can get one product on the shelf, and they have, 10 to 15.
They try to elbow everybody else out of the way.
Yeah.
They're basically bullies, but in a capitalist free market, they're allowed to do that. But that's what they are. They want to dominate. It's no different than Coke and Pepsi. They want to push all the competition out of the way and say, this is what we're doing here. It's just sort of a dog-eat-dog nature of business, but that's the way it is. But the Budweiser is, I mean, it's hard. It's still the 4th best seller, but like I say, it's not nearly what it used to be. And
so what? I already have them written down, but for this upcoming tournament, you're thinking maybe starting this next week?
I would like to probably.
I hope so.
I'd like to,
since I've already started putting stock into this.
Yeah.
I'd
say
what are your now? Are you going to go with 4, and then have a wild card, or are we just going with 4 in the tournament?
4, then a championship round, then possibly, if that was really successful, bring in a wild card to take on the champion. You could bring in like a Hams or something to compete against the champion.
Okay. So what are your 4 for this upcoming, your first tournament on this?
Got the we'll have the Budweiser versus Coors banquet. The other round will be Pabst Blue Ribbon versus Miller High Life.
Okay.
Those two winners will then advance to a championship round and face off for the championship for that.
Nice.
Sort of like the Final Four in basketball when it gets down to the two semifinals in the final round. And that same format could be used for any style of beer: Euro lagers, light beers, American Adjunct, what we're doing, American Pale Ales, IPA, stouts, Euro lagers. What Tyler drank earlier today was a Heineken. They're pretty readily available. Some of those, the top sellers, the Becks, the Stella Artois, the Heinekens, something like that.
So how would you bring in like an outsider, like a wild card? Is that if like in the final round, the championship, if it ends up being a tie across the board, then you say now you'll bring in something else that's different from the other losers to compete with the two champions?
The idea of a wild card would be like they've already had a champion, but it'd be interesting just to see if we could pick a beer that didn't even in the to just take them on.
Okay.
Like a wild card that they would have a shot to take down the champion.
Okay, so you have to come across a champion. So you have your
right,
first four. It's going to go down to the two.
Yeah.
And then you'll have the one standing, and then you bring in the wild card that wasn't even in the tournament to see how it compared. Okay.
That's an option. Depending if the reception, if it's received well, people like to do it. It might be interesting just to see to pull out a wild card.
Okay, but we couldn't do that one in the same night. We could do the other ones because you already have your four picked.
Yeah.
So we can do the whole original tasting to the secondary down to the championship, but after that, it's going to have to be a separate.
Yeah, if you added a wild card, that would add one extra round to it at the at the end. But that's but once you get past these beers, the top 4 or 5, it's hard for everybody to find them.
Yeah,
that's the issue. It's nice about this is they're accessible, and I bet everybody that tunes in has had these beers.
Yeah,
so they have a nice frame of reference to know which one they prefer on a drink on a regular basis. So the accessibility of it is a positive this time.
Yeah.
That's
because your next one you're thinking I see you typing away in our hangouts and stuff. You're thinking American Pale Ale.
That would be good, yeah.
Very much so, Paul. I even put together a tentative bracket for that.
What do you got?
Okay, what's your tentative bracket for the American Pale Ale? Because I'm guessing Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. That's going to be up there.
Ooh, or Dale's Pale Ale.
Maybe versus the Founders IPA, the all day IPA.
Well, that's a session, so that might be.
It is, but it's the best. That would be like an upset.
Wild card.
The reason I mention that is that's like I said, it's tentative, but that is by far their best selling beer.
It is. And it's one of the most easily found too.
It is. That's the reason I understand it. It doesn't, but.
So you're going with the whole just because it says IPA. The sessional IPA, which almost lands it in the actual BJCP category with the bitterness and the alcohol as a pale ale.
And someone might be surprised if they drank them side by side in that moment. Yeah. They might actually prefer the sessionable one because its ratio of hoppiness per ABV is pretty high. It's a pretty hoppy beer. Because they can't over malt it because that would boost the calorie count on it. So, that might do surprisingly well. And on the other bracket I had, we have to include Sweetwater.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other one. Yeah.
It's the second selling.
What would you do?
That's gonna be a difficult one for me. I can not get Sweetwater.
I think I can get that. Yeah. I believe I can. So what would you do against Sweetwater?
I was thinking, I think I wrote it. Let me check my. Here.
I'm looking at Beer Advocate for commonly.
I'll do my best. I mean, if Eric can get it, I just have to drive into Massachusetts. I might be able to find
something. Shouldn't have to, but maybe
Sweetwater's not New Hampshire.
Oh, the other one was Dale's Pale Ale.
Yeah, I propose that you could do the Dale's versus the Sierra Nevada.
Now that you could reverse the standings or the seedings, but
Certainly
those are the four
can.
that it came to mind to me at first.
I'm trying to think of a fourth one.
Popularity and accessibility. You have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, you definitely
Everybody's going to
have to.
have the same beers, so there has to be a certain level of availability.
Another popular one.
But the Dale's Pale Ale to me is more like an IPA.
Yeah, I would agree with
A little
that.
bit of a
It's very close.
ringer, but the fact they are different, and someone might prefer the lighter profile of the all day, and the other one would like the hearty flavor of the Dale's Pale Ale. But it would be interesting to see when you actually have them all four together.
Yeah, well, we'll have to work that one out. The only one I'm going to have difficulty getting would be the Sweetwater. Like I said, if I had enough notification on it, I could swing into Massachusetts and see if I can't grab that.
And we can hash that out by doing a little video chat some night off
Yeah.
and just say, what can you get? What can you get? And try to come to a
because we don't know what John and Ellie will get down in Georgia. We don't know.
I hope we can get that beer down in Georgia.
Who knows who else? If we get like thrash metal into this, Brian, I can guarantee you he's not getting Sweetwater out in Colorado.
Let's see.
I'll go ahead and mention I also come up with an IPA list here.
Well, what about Lagunitas?
That would definitely have to be on that list. Yeah, man.
I think that they distribute throughout, and they're reasonably priced. I think they have a pale ale out versus just a regular IPA, right?
I have to.
In one semifinal, I had Goose Island IPA versus Lagunitas IPA.
Goose versus, I can see that. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And the other one, I had the Founders All Day IPA versus Bell's Two Hearted Ale.
Ooh, wow. Ooh, those are like totally different ABV spectrums right there. Damn.
And
you never know what might happen there. It could be an upset with the Two Hearted Ale.
And then the American Pale Ale, I had Sierra Nevada versus Sweetwater 420.
I would agree with that.
Dale's Pale Ale versus, I didn't put a fourth one in there. But
I'm trying to look for a fourth one, to be completely honest.
That's going to take a little bit more digging.
Hit us up if you can. Hit us up ahead of time. To let us know what
one probably that might be okay for that style. It's called Dogtown Pale Ale, maybe. I feel like I've seen that before. It's not the big name that you're thinking of from that company. I'll have to look up.
I would just say check with most of your panel people that can join. I mean, if there's stuff I can't get, I won't join. But you want to make sure that you have enough panel members that can get what you're putting out there. So I don't think everybody's going to be able to join it every single one, just because there are, once you get into these various styles and stuff, you start to lose breweries that are putting the exact style or whatever that you're
you got Lagunitas little something, I suppose, right? Little something.
Once you get past the big macros, the big sellers, they're all trying to get a piece of a smaller pie.
Piece of the pie.
So sales, they're not going to be available in every state. Like the fact that Sweetwater is the second best-selling American Pale Ale in the country, and it's distributed in only about half the states.
Yeah. And then every state's different with their distribution. Like in New Hampshire, we have our state, distributors. So for a beer to get into that, they have to get in touch. They have to come into that distribution. It's not just like, hey, we want to go into New Hampshire. It's like they have to be accepted by whoever is going to distribute throughout New Hampshire. That's already a distributor. So it becomes difficult. Plus, there's extra taxes and stuff laid on outside companies coming in. So sometimes they just say, forget it. We'll just skip New Hampshire.
Yeah.
They make it difficult.
And it's nice that some of the commenters are mentioning the beers that they can and can't get. So they're already thinking about it, which is a good sign that there's interest. That's what you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign. Whether you can get it or not, like Robert here, the Whiskey Scout said, I can get some Sweetwaters here in Kansas.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been getting more and more outside brewery stuff coming in. Before this, right, like probably like 2 weeks before the whole COVID-19 shutdown, basically. It was like already heard about. We already knew about the COVID-19, but it wasn't like it was like, it's just gonna be like a little cold, whatever type deal.
Don't you
And
know?
the thing of
They
it
were
is,
talking. I was at the beer store and I heard them over. They were talking to a new distributor that just opened up, and they've been working for a while to get their license and everything. In New Hampshire, they just opened up, and they were talking to the craft beer store owner where I go. It's the Packing in Manchester, and they were talking about getting in Surly.
Yep.
And also possibly Russian River.
Okay. Whoa. Wow.
Yeah, so I was like looking forward to maybe get my hands on some, Pliny the Elder or something.
We get
And,
one in Shirley, Massachusetts.
Yeah, but that's kind of, I don't know where that is now, because that was like 2 weeks before this whole shutdown thing happened. And guess what? Guess what? The store does not have any Surly or
No,
Russian River.
I'm sorry that I can't get Surly.
Yeah, just one beer I get from them. That's it.
But one thing I just thought about was that even if you couldn't get all four of them, if you get two, you can at least enter one round.
That's true. You get your opinion.
Right.
On
I just thought that wouldn't be a problem, because if there's an uneven number of panelists, you always go then to the commenters. They would pick, because the tie goes to the commenters. So that would be an issue. So at least if you could find two of them, you're more than welcome to participate.
Right. So open it up to like people that are in the chat. They may not be able to get, they didn't join the panel because they couldn't get the beers, but maybe they want to join the panel, and maybe the next round, if they're watching and listening in, they may be able to get all the beers for the next thing, and they can join the panel. Right. So you're not going to have like a set panel like these are my favorite YouTubers, and this is the panel.
Participating, that's the way it should be.
Right.
And if it happens to be 8 people one night, 6 the other, that's fine. It's
because I know there's some channels out there that just have their set. These are my friends, and these are the people on panel, and that's it. And then there's other ones like myself where I just open it up to. Most of the time, it's the people I already know that are going to keep on joining the panel, but I do open it up to any newcomers if they want to pop in. So I think that's the way you were planning on kind of doing it. Just anybody, as long as they're going to bring what they're supposed to bring and not bring trouble.
Yeah, that would be good.
That's what it's supposed to be. Fun. It's just fun, but with just an element, a little competition thrown in, just to people may be surprised. The outcome of it. I think the Lagunitas, Jeremy V here is Vince, and I think for the bang for the buck, they do pretty well throughout their line of beers.
I would agree with that 100%.
I don't hold against them that they're owned by Heineken, but I think they do a good job in the price performance ratio, as they say.
Yeah, well, even before they were owned by Heineken, they were still putting stuff out. Like they seem to have really good distribution and lower prices than a lot of other.
They did undercut the competition in price and still gave you a very good quality beer.
Yep. That's the thing. Like sometimes you notice, like there's some breweries, it's like they're doing really good. They make great beer. They get this big name for themselves, and then they get bought out. And then you start seeing them, they have a wider distribution, but you start noticing like, the beer doesn't really taste the same. It's kind of gone downhill a little bit. Like maybe the penny pincher came in and said, you can't use all these grains and hops. It's costing too much money. Make a change to the recipe.
once the bean counters get involved, you know,
Yeah, the bean
all bets
counters.
are off.
Ronnie's looking forward to the tournament.
Yeah, he was on the chat last night, and he seemed to be all. Everybody was. John Anile, who was very
Yeah.
gracious, and you know, I was saying that he wanted me to host this. I would be more than willing to let him do it, and so last night we had 5 that were all in on it, and anybody else that you know wants to participate, you're more than welcome.
Very nice. Sounds like a good time to me.
Yeah, I'm definitely in on the first one. Said it all comes down to what you plan on doing for the next one. If you do the American Pale Ales and what comes down in that bracket, if I can get it or not. If I can't, then of course I'm not gonna show up on panel if I can't grab everything.
And if you can get,
I'll go for the hardest one first because if I can't get the hardest one, I'm not gonna go for the others.
But if you can get 2 out of 4, that's 50%. You're more than welcome to participate. You know,
I don't know. I'll participate in the chat at that point. I think.
Okay.
I don't want to mess up those that are actually drinking the full-on beer because I won't give a good representation. You know, I could if it was like 2 and 2. I could do one, but not the other type deal. But we'll see. It all depends on what's available. What would be fantastic is if everybody could just get everybody else beer.
Yeah.
that would just be that would end the whole like, hey, I'm going to trade you beer. I'm going to send my beer from here to there, and you know,
sometimes
like, hey, I'm going to send you some money. Make sure you pick up my location's beers.
Sometimes I'm thinking maybe
I'll be back.
Sometimes I think maybe I'm a little envious of the Bud Light drinker. They didn't have to worry about ever getting their beer. It's always going to be there.
Right.
You don't have to think about it. It's one of those deals. It's no different than buying a loaf of bread, a pack of cheese. You know, it's just a part of your regular shopping. And they treat it that way too, because like I said, the Bud White swipe is what I call it, where they just go by and grab it out of the cooler and they're on their way.
I spend like 20 to 25 minutes in the beer section walking back and forth.
I do too. Stalking back and forth, checking the code dates, back. And they're over there, and I'm saying, man, that sure looks a lot easier than what I'm doing. But they don't know what they're missing. So I give myself solace that I'm doing it the right way.
Yeah. I do give I have to say I have a neighbor, and he's got Budweiser, Bud Light. He stocks both. So if I go down and visit him, he usually have a drink, a cup of Light Budweiser or Twisted Tea. He also loves this Twisted Tea. So those are basically the 3 things that he drinks. And I'm a home brewer, so I have brought some home brews to him. And I threw one at him that was like, it wasn't right. I'm just like, I don't really like this, but here, try it. And he started drinking. He starts picking out notes I didn't think that he even knew. It was like, wow. I'm like, you're hitting that spot on. He's like, he goes, it tastes very like, he goes, it tastes like grass. He's like, I'm picking up a lot of grassy notes. I'm like, yeah. I said, this one, I'm like, I don't know what happened. I mean, it's, it wasn't like super fresh, like grassy, like hoppiness. Like it's just too fresh. It was just like, there was a grass note in there. And it was amazing watching somebody that just drinks Budweiser products and Twisted Tea and being able to pick apart a beer that was totally different and pick out the notes. It was like, wow.
I remember the old cereal commercial on TV about Mikey and the Life cereal. His older brothers, they're all in the room together. And it's Mikey, he'll never eat that. Mikey takes a bite. He likes it. Mikey likes it. Like he's experienced something new. Mikey, he likes it.
Yeah.
But some of those old commercials are really great. I miss the old commercials. Sometimes I'll go back and look at some of them on YouTube back in the 50s and stuff. Definitely a different time. They were given a lot more latitude back then as far as commercials go. But
oh, it's amazing. Yeah, Alex did a Campbell soup night or a canned soup night, and I started looking up like old Campbell's commercials, and wow, they were quite sexist.
Oh,
And some of those they were very like males dominant, and the female, is just a person that stays at home and cooks and wines and
yeah.
whatever. And yeah, it was like, wow, that's it's very interesting to
Yeah,
watch
some
to
of the
watch
old
the
beer
old stuff.
commercials, like the first readily available nationwide malt liquor was the Country Club. If you look at the old ads, the wife, she brings all the men the beer on a platter. She's dressed in she has a dress on, pearls. It's like back then, women pants were not a part of their regular attire. Many times,
Mhm.
it wasn't considered proper for a woman to wear pants, and she's bringing them beers, like, just dressed like she was going out for a night on the town, and they're sitting there. So
Yeah,
but it was like a country club setting. Country club malt liquor meant to appeal to the upscale customer. A far cry from the way malt liquor was marketed later down the line,
yeah.
with the rump shakers and all that stuff, So
The rap artists promoting
absolutely.
it.
It was
Yeah.
a 40, tap the bottle, gold chains. It was all part of the lifestyle. For a few years, our Old English was a huge seller.
Yeah.
But to look back at those old ads with the ladies serving the men, and they have the Carling Black Label where they whistle at her like Mabel Black Label, bring us a round of beers in a restaurant, in a little bar. Mabel
Right.
Black Label is like, get over here, we want beer, and she dutifully goes over there and serves them the beer. But times have changed a lot. But
Yeah. Well, I know girls are back to not wearing pants again. They're now wearing those see-through spandex. Seems to be the hot style now. Like everywhere you look, black spandex that are like stretched out so much you can see everything when the sun hits
Yeah,
it.
it's like it's not see through because there's nothing to see through. It's sort of a misnomer. See through. Oh, there's nothing really to see through. But anyway,
Yeah.
We've been on about an hour here, so we'll wrap this up. And I appreciate you joining me in the previous ones, Eric Fraunfelter and Tyler Mansell. And just wanted to sort of get the word out on this after we sort of left a teaser last night. I just want to top a few loose ends and give a few details about this that I think actually is going to happen. And I got high hopes for it.
Good. Yeah, I do too.
And
So I think it'll be fun. It'll be interesting, and I think that a lot of people will just based off my experience before doing this. I think it's going to change a lot of people's minds as what they think their favorite beers are for the ones they can standardly get, anyways.
Yeah,
so.
I think so, because everybody sort of has an investment in it. Everybody knows about these beers. They have memories of them. Whether they don't drink them anymore.
Pre-imposition or something like that. I think that's the right word. Yeah.
It's and I want to thank all we had a lively stream of comments tonight. I appreciate everybody tuning in on and watching, which is a good sign. That's a good sign that there's interest in this. So, but anyway, we'll sign off now, and as usual, bottoms up and don't spill a drop. Until next time we meet, good night.
Cheers, everybody.